Welcome back to EAK TV. I'm delighted to have Ian Gauci with us, the founder of GTG Advocates and the Cleader Group.
Hi, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
How are you enjoying Decentralized 2018 so far?
Well, I'm quite surprised. It's my first time here, but the conference is top-notch and even the environment is vibrant.
Yeah. I understand you had a talk earlier on at one of the stages. What was that about?
It was about blockchain and GDPR. Actually, quite an interesting topic, and even the panel was very, very well versed with the topic.
So whereabouts are we with GDPR and blockchain?
Oh, GDPR is something new. Blockchain is something old, but DLT now conceptually is something new as well. So I think on both ends it's works in progress and a lot of patience.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me then, GTG Advocates, Cleader Group, what's going on with these two companies? What are you guys working on?
I think we're working on something which is a little bit groundbreaking. So particularly coming from the legal point of view, we created a unit which has an intersection of an economist, because we have economists as well in the group, technology, we have Abdallah and his team, so computer scientists, and then we have legal people. So there we anticipate that we can give a holistic view to our clients. Lately as well, we added a marketing component, PR and marketing component, which is quite innovative. So I think that we are slowly building up capacity, building up a vehicle that will cater for the digital economy services in the future.
And when do you think our viewers will hear about the new marketing and PR department to the Cleader Group?
I think it's already there. We just need to iron up the little bits left pending, but I would say that in a month's time it would be fully transparent and operational.
Obviously the Cleader Group, I mean, that was working out of Malta, and obviously Malta being the blockchain island right now, obviously it's got legal certainty and a regulatory framework in place. What types of blockchain companies are you seeing moving to Malta? Like, you know, is it any specific types, or is it just, you know, anyone across the whole ecosystem? Or?
Well, let me pause a little bit before I answer. So in Malta, even though we're dubbed as the blockchain island, we are for innovation. So irrespective of blockchain, it can be DLT, it can be a chain without blocks, we're in for innovation.
Yeah, sure.
So from that end, we're seeing a lot of companies with a lot of interesting innovation. So we're seeing a lot of development. We're lucky that even in Kaleido, we have previous regulator who was the ex-CEO of the MGA. I have done pretty much a large chunk of regulation, being in MCA before. I am the advisor for government, so I advise as well on the policy, on the new laws. I advise both authorities, the Malta Digital Innovation Authority and the MFSA, and Abdallah. Abdallah is the policy advisor as well from the technical front, so he's a technical expert. So there, at least from those three factions, we are seeing in each respective field a lot of new companies, outfits. So we have ICOs, I have seen ICOs, exchanges, wallet providers, custodians, blockchain as well, DLT platforms, okay, who are looking into certifying the platform in Malta as well to get recognition. So interesting stuff, some interesting stuff.
Yeah. So I understand the government is working on, you know, new bills to pass in the AI space. Are you also involved in that?
Well, let's say that before drafting the bills, right now government is looking into crafting a policy. So we're going to have a policy, we're going to study, we're going to see exactly in what fashion we need to intervene. If we can build on the existing Malta Digital Innovation Authority and what kind of regulation there might be. I think that both myself and Abdallah will be involved in this. Yeah. Abdallah is already a member of the task force, if I'm not mistaken.
So what were the major challenges and hurdles faced for the Maltese authorities when they were drafting the regulatory framework?
I would say that one of the major challenges is undoubtedly reputation. So you need to have repute, you need to build repute, you need to keep that repute. And that is something which is at the back of our minds when we're drafting legislation. That leads me to something else. Okay, when you draft law, you check regulation, you check what are the positives, what are the negatives, what are the benefits, what are the repercussions, and you meter how you're going to intervene and if it is required that you intervene. When we intervene, however, you need to meter as well if you have adequate capacity to intervene, and if you have adequate skill set, people who can cover the supervisory requirements. I think that would be the major challenge for us in Malta. And it's not only in Malta, but Malta we're small, it's everywhere. Because we're speaking about something which is innovative, there is no regulation on which you can peg, there are no directives, so we are to a certain extent leading the way. We're speaking about something which is innovative in itself, so even there you can't have somebody who will say, listen, I have 3-4 years of experience, irrespective of from where he might come. So even that is a shortcoming, and we are limited as well because we're a small country. So I think that is the largest challenge I see.
So how then does Malta regulate, but then not but not stagnate like innovation?
Let's say that you mentioned regulate.
Yeah.
I distinguish. We regulate in the VFA, so cryptocurrencies arena. Yes, we regulate, and we regulate heavily.
Yeah.
So we're putting a very robust framework, we're putting a very robust structure, and very onerous. Because we need quality operators, we need to install certainty, and we need to make sure that if Malta is doing something, its repute is untarnished. So that is the first, and there we regulate. And that is for the interest of the consumer and the technology itself. Because if something happens and there's a backlash on technology, which is the LTE blockchain, that can affect innovation. Now, specifically on innovation, however, we do not regulate blockchain. Blockchain, we make sure that there's a voluntary regime, and we make sure that the technology, if you can call it technology, because blockchain is code is science.
Code is law.
Code is not something else. That would be subject of another interview we'll have in the future. No. So when we are touching blockchain, DLT, innovation, there we're not regulating. It is voluntary, and we're making sure that the technology, if you want to call it a technology, the code, is safe and apt for use. So in that case, we are dressing it up, but we're not regulating it. We are creating an environment where in the future you can trust the technology, and where in the future technology can eventually replace or enhance law and regulation. RegTech.
Okay, so obviously at a lot of these conferences now, people are replacing the token sales with or ICOs with security token offerings, which brings its own regulatory issues. How do you think that? Do you think it's feasible considering the constraints around the securities and the differing jurisdictions?
I would say that STOs are an evolution of ICOs. And we had cases as well where ICOs, depending on the particular equity that they wanted, they had what is called a side letter, where if they wanted funding, the people who funded, requested equity in the company. So you have a side letter, irrespective of the ICO, they will take equity. I would say that a lot of that equity will come. So the money will come when people can have a stake, and people can participate in the profits, in the shares of the company. So there, STOs give the ICO arena a little bit of more trust, a little bit of more purpose. Now, ICOs are already to a certain extent where countries are regulating, they are already becoming expensive. Because regulation is expensive. I think STOs, given that they would fall squarely on financial services, predominantly MiFID, financial instruments, yes, they are costly, but there is already a framework. There is already certainty. We already have the concept of, for example, dematerialization of securities through a ledger. Because we're introducing as well, we're replacing a paper ledger with a blockchain ledger, okay? So I would say that, yes, initially it might be a little bit cumbersome, but as we go along, as the system sort of finds its feet, I think that STOs will be the rule of the day. I don't think that we were going to have a lot of ICOs.
Okay. So as a lawyer, do you believe that there's some intricacies in your role that could eventually be replaced by a blockchain solution one day?
Well, again, more than blockchain, it's innovation, it's code, it's automation. So automation you might touch as well on AI, automation. It's not me, it's even Professor Susskind said it. There are certain tasks, irrespective of your question, which should not be done by lawyers, even young lawyers. If certain tasks can be automated, a law firm is a business. So if it can be automated and you can have better economies of scale and scope, so be it. I would say that through blockchain, when blockchain becomes the big data, when through blockchain, even AI, smart contracts can siphon out certain data which is ascertainable, so it's not garbage, okay? A lot of the normal spade work which is done by lawyers will be redundant. Even smart contracts which would build on deterministic factors from that data would have template contracts in the future which would replace our word contracts right now. So I would say that from that angle, a lot of the redundant work which is done by lawyers right now will be replaced. And even the knowledge, the more there is publicly available knowledge, and that includes legal knowledge, so the more you digitalize, even in a semantic way, so it's not only digitalizing, make it in electronic format, but in a semantic way, machine readable as well, and you give it a purpose. Court judgments, outcomes of agreements, so there is an activity, legal activity, which is part of the blockchain, okay, on which AI or people can see the information. So the more you have that, I think the more we're losing as well the comfort that certain information was within the realm of lawyers. So we needed to ask lawyers. So even from that point of view, we need to transform ourselves. But the lawyer's profession has been there for aeons and it will not die. We just need to revolutionize some aspects of our profession.
Okay. So is the Maltese government actually practicing what they preach in terms of implementing blockchain into their own ecosystem and infrastructures?
I don't know what they're preaching. Yeah? I don't know what they're preaching.
You don't know?
Well, I can tell you that yes, we already have a certification system for school certificates, and that was done before we actually were rolling out the legislation. I think Malta was the first pilot, learning machine, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Learning machine.
For putting certificates on the blockchain?
Yes.
I think, yeah.
I think it was the first pilot.
Yeah, I think the University of Nicosia claim that it's them. I'm not sure which one it is.
It was done approximately 2.5 years ago, something like that.
So
well, it's irrespective. Yeah. But we've done it before, and it was done by learning. We've done it before the coming into force of the law. We are looking as well into some adoption of blockchain, DLT in transport, in health. At the end of the day, the issue is that, I always say this, blockchain sometimes could be an end to a solution. It could be something which you can use, but it is not a panacea at the end of the day. So in certain instances, you need to meter carefully. We should not roll out blockchain for the sake of saying, yes, we are a government pro-blockchain, we regulated blockchain, so we're rolling out something on blockchain, so we add to the marketing impetus. Yeah. So it needs a little bit more thinking. But we're looking into health as well, transport, we've done the education. That is as far as I know. And I know as well of certain outfits, even from the legal point of view, who are actively looking into smart contracts.
So obviously Malta's leading the pack right now, we'd say, in the EU at least, with its regulatory bills, not just on blockchain, but soon to be AI, etc. How do we make sure that Malta still stays ahead of the pack when other countries start to regulate?
This might sound strange coming from a Maltese and from a person who was involved in the planning and drafting. But in all honesty, I don't think that there should be anyone leading the pack. Okay. I think there should be a pack. And in that pack, contrary to a pack of wolves, there should be communication, there should be a shared platform, because at the end of the day, we're speaking about something, digital economy, which has no boundaries. It cannot be contained, it cannot be an exclusive remit of one country, particularly if we're speaking about Malta, which is so small. It is the remit of all the nations, it is the remit and subject of all as well, the European citizens, so we need to sit down. We need to talk, we need to, if we have things which are wrong, which other people are doing better than us, we learn from them and vice versa, they learn from us. So there needs to be a lot of collaboration. Otherwise, we're going to have a fragmented approach, and that goes against the principle of blockchain itself. Because in blockchain, if you have a self-sovereign element, you need to have a harmonized approach on how the individual can express that self-sovereign element. So I would say that yes, a pack, but I hate to lead in this, maybe lead knowledge-wise and we share it. But it needs to be a collaborative effort.
So obviously you're a lawyer, so you're keeping a good eye on what's going on around the rest of the EU. Like, if you were going to make a prediction, who do you think is going to be next in the EU to regulate blockchain?
Well, UK for the time being is still in the EU, correct? Brexit agreement.
It's still there, yeah, for
It
now.
still needs to be approved by Parliament. So I would say UK, there's still time. They had issued a paper before in 2014, 2015, even their banks. So they studied it. They know exactly what DLT is. They could as well have anticipated certain pitfalls because there was Gibraltar coming out before, Bahamas, us. So I would keep UK close into optic because I know how they work. France has, it's a different regime from ours, but I laud the French people because then the community, I've been there 3 weeks ago, they seem to have their act together, they seem to have a very clear intent, and they want to propel the French crypto and blockchain economy, which is good. I hope that they think as well of Europe when they're doing that. So I would say that for the time being, and then there's Estonia. Estonia has always been there, it's a leader. I mean, it's a bit nation. But for the time being, I would say France and the UK and Europe.
Yeah, I think I interviewed Sally Eves at Malta Blockchain Summit, and she said they're coming out with, the government's coming out with something before Christmas. So, guys, keep an eye on that, guys. But yeah, so where do we find out more about GGT Advocates and Kaleido Group?
Well, we have our social media. We have our media partners who are very good in what they do. So our Facebook, our websites, LinkedIn as well, Twitter. We try as much as possible to share, to disseminate a lot of value from all fronts. And then if people still believe in cause, we also have our mobiles, our offices, so you can call us anytime and we would be happy to clarify any questions you might have.
Awesome. Okay, well, thanks for your time, Ian, today. Guys, subscribe below. That's EAK TV. That's a wrap.